Hello everyone. So the theme for this lecture and the next couple of lectures is the role of religion and the supernatural and divine in forming proto-cosmological beliefs before the advent of philosophy, which is the main theme of this series of lectures. So what we're going to be talking about is pre-philosophical cosmogonies and pre-philosophical cosmologies. But more than that, I'll be trying to place all of this in the context of the life of the Greeks at that time. We are not going to spend so much time on this because, well, as you know, our main sort of theme is philosophy. But it's good to get some idea of the place that religion held, what function it had in everyday life, and what function it had in forming cosmological notions. Because that's still there. If you look around you and if you talk to people around, there is a mix of quasi-scientific knowledge, which again comes from what they've been told, rather than from everybody doesn't go around experimenting and trying to find out how what is the origin of the world, where is the earth located. So all these the beliefs that we have about the world around us, the beliefs about the world, the beliefs about the cosmos, eventually do come even in this scientific age, if we want to call it this, from believing what others tell us, and no different in earlier times, except what the common beliefs were formed from different impulses, perhaps, and some of those impulses are not too different even now. So when we talk about sort of pre-philosophical cosmogonies, and we're talking about ancient Greece, we don't really have that very much to go on as far as cosmology or cosmogony is concerned, because that was not precisely a theme. So we don't have a text which says, oh, we are going to talk about cosmogony. What we are trying to do is we're trying to derive it from ancient texts. So we try to derive it from Homer's two poems, Iliad and the Odyssey, where there is no section where he says, oh, now this one chapter, like for example in the Aeneid you have one, we are going to talk about cosmogony or theogony even. Homer doesn't do that. Or after that, early poets. So we don't really, we can get more or less an idea of what the common Greek person, a common person in that land with those beliefs, because it's not just Greece, as we have already talked, believed. But we don't have any sort of set text that tells us, okay, this was Homeric cosmology, and this is something that people have reconstructed, and people started doing it. So, even Plato talks a bit about it, but we don't really have a set sort of thing to go back to. So it's all sort of reconstructed from myth and poetry, and that complicates things, as you will see. And then we will talk about early attempts at systematization, which were not precisely cosmogonies. It was a theogony, for Hesiod's theogony, for example. But that was an early attempt at systematization of the common beliefs that we had at that time. So, and you can see proto-cosmological elements in Hesiod, and proto-scientific elements. If you really push yourself, you can read in there. But again, you will see why we consider philosophy to be such a break from earlier thought. Why is philosophy seen as something that is a revolution in thinking? Why do we think of philosophy as something that made a big leap across when it comes to history of ideas and history of thought? So what I'll do is in the next couple of lectures, so first let's sort of think of ancient religion, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, and in fact maybe we could do it in an interactive session in which we can talk about the different gods, but I'm not going to do that at all. I'll talk more generally about what was the relationship of gods to humans? And this is from Homer, for the most part, from the Iliad and the Odyssey. What was the relationship of poetry and myth and religion, and how did it reflect sort of, class structures, even, in ancient society? And what cosmology then could be derived from it? Because our theme here is cosmology rather than politics. Politics would be, in fact, quite interesting, but sticking to the theme. And the role of poetry, and then, what Plato calls the ancient quarrel between poetry and philosophy, and why that would come about, how that would come about. And did it come about properly? I mean, we can say there is an ancient quarrel, but is it such a clear-cut break between, poetry and philosophy? Is there such a clear-cut break between pre-cosmological or proto-cosmological, whatever you want to call it, thinking, and cosmological thinking afterwards? It's something that, we can debate also in our interactive session, but that's something that I plan to sort of talk about.